Lesson 22, select case. This is pretty wild. Select case. This replaces multiple iterations of if, else if, else if, else if. It's completely different than using if, then, else if, but it's pretty slick, and I'll show you an example here. You'll start to embrace this, especially when you have many different options that you need to account for. So let's get started. I'm going to use the exact same problem that we had before. We have a product code in column B, and we want to categorize the revenue. Either move it out to column F if it's product A or B, column G if it's C or D, or column H if it's Z. And so we're going to take a look at the code that we used in the last macro. This code here is using multiple if, else if, else if, and I'm going to save this code just so that way we have an example of what it used to look like. So I'll call it old macro, and we're going to get rid of this whole if, else if, else if, else if. And here's how it works. We have to say select case, and then the variable that we're interested in. So in this case, it's this prod. Select case this prod. And then we have a bunch of lines, each starting with the word case, and what values we might find in this prod. So for example, case Z. Well, in case Z, I want to take the value and put it out in column 8. So I'm going to copy that bit of code there. All right, and then what's the next case? Well, in this case, case A. Now here's the beautiful thing about select case, is if you have multiple items that have to do the exact same thing, you can separate them by a comma. So we're already going to save a couple lines of code because we can consolidate both the A and the B scenario into a single pair of lines of code. And then case C or D, well, in that case, we're going to move out to column 7. And now in this situation, I've already handled everything, but you can have something called case else, which handles anything else. And in this case, maybe we pop up a message box saying unexpected product ampersand this prod. All right. Now the if, you have to end with it end if. The select, you have to end with end select. And select. So you can see that the code here is a bit shorter. Go from line 2 down to line 16, so 15 lines of code. Here we go from line 20 down to line 35, so 16 lines of code. And notice that there's actually 2 extra lines of code up in the original macro to deal with a case else. So to be fair, it's 13 versus 16. Shorter way to write that code. So let's test it. We'll come here and just press Control S, Control S, Control S, Control S, Control S, Control S, and you see that everything goes flying into the correct column each time. So using select case, faster way to go. By the way, let's just talk about, as we start to talk about shortening the code. Again, if we're sure that there's nothing else that could happen, we can take those lines of code out. It also is not necessary to have a variable here. You could directly put what we're trying to find. So I'm trying to find if cells selection.row, comma 2. So I don't even have to define a variable. We can simply just refer to that bit of code. When you get right down to it, this row is a variable that we don't necessarily need. We can use selection.row there and shorten it down. So we end up ignoring the blanks. 1 line of code there, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines of code to solve the problem. Lots of times we add those variables just because it helps us to think about the problem, but in reality, you don't necessarily need them. Certainly here with this select case, we're able to get away without it as well. Well, that's the end of this part. In the next part, we're going to start to talk about how to find the last row in the data set. Very important for variable rows of data. And then start to talk about loops. Now, loops are really going to make your life much easier. Because in this example, where we had to keep pressing Control S, you'll find that you'll actually be able to just set this up inside of a loop, run the macro once, and have it fix all of the rows for us. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you found this lesson helpful.
Looking to advance your career by acquiring new skills? Tired of expensive off-site training programs? Wish you could learn from the best instructors in the industry? Look no further than live lessons. Self-paced, personal video instruction by the world's leading technology publishers. Each live lesson comes with a DVD featuring 3 to 4 hours of instructor-led classroom training, sample program code that allows you to work along with your personal instructor, and an example-rich study guide. Live lessons allow you to watch the entire course from start to finish, or navigate directly to any of the individual lessons. You'll literally watch over the shoulder of your instructor as he shows you how to build state-of-the-art applications. Live lessons, the power of the world's leading technology experts at your fingertips. To learn more, visit mylivelessons.com today.